What if I told you that the Trojan War probably did happen, but not the way Homer described it? For those that don't know about or maybe forgot the story, here is a quick recap of the Trojan Horse story as it appears in Homer's Odyssey. After 10 long years of fighting outside the walls of Troy, the Greeks used a brilliant trick led by Odysseus. They built a giant wooden horse, hollow inside, and hid their best warriors in it. The rest of the Greek army pretended to sail away, fooling the Trojans into thinking the war was over. A Greek spy, Sinon, convinced the Trojans that the horse was a sacred gift to Athena. Believing it would protect their city, the Trojans dragged the horse through their gates and celebrated. But late that night, while Troy slept, the hidden Greek soldiers climbed out of the horse, opened the city gates, and let the returning Greek army in. Troy fell in a single devastating night, ending the Trojan War through one of the most famous deceptions in history. For over 3,000 years, people believed the story of Troy was just a myth. But then, archaeologists dug into a lonely hill in Turkey, and what they uncovered has stunned the entire world. This is the true story of Troy, the real war, the real city, and the real people behind one of humanity's greatest legends. For centuries, scholars dismissed the Trojan War as pure fiction, a poetic backdrop for gods, heroes, and giant wooden horses. But in the 1870s, German businessman Heinrich Schliemann began digging at a mound called Hisarlik in modern-day Turkey. He believed it was the site of ancient Troy, and he was right, even if his excavation methods were, let's say, enthusiastic. More careful archaeologists later discovered that Hisarlik wasn't just one city. It was 9 cities that were stacked one on top of another, spanning more than 3,000 years back in time. Today, most scholars agree that Troy 6 or Troy 7 fit the timeline of a real war. Troy 6 had huge stone walls, imposing towers, and a wealthy trading center. It was destroyed around 1250 BCE, possibly by an earthquake. Troy 7 was being rebuilt rapidly after destruction. There were crowded homes with large pithoi jars buried in floors. The homes were possibly crowded due to population increase during wartime, and the pithoi jars are like a food storage that was buried when under siege. It was destroyed in a fiery battle around 1180 BCE. And that destruction lines up almost perfectly with the traditional date of the Trojan War. Evidence doesn't just come from Troy. It also comes from a powerful empire to the east, the Hittites. Hittite tablets mention a city called Wilusa, ruled by a king named Alexandru. Scholars widely accept that Wilusa equals Ilios, Troy's name in Homeric Greek, and Alexandru equals Alexandros, another name for Paris. They also mention a confederation of Greek states called Ahhiyawa, almost certainly the Acheans. This means the major players of the Trojan War existed in documented political negotiations centuries before Homer wrote the Iliad. Archaeologists believe the Trojan War was not a single event, but a series of conflicts over trade and territory. Likely causes included reasons like Troy's strategic location controlling the Dardanelles, or rivalry between Mycenaean Greeks and the Hittite sphere. Maybe it was because of economic competition, or perhaps a rebellion or shifting alliances. It probably wasn't a war over Helen's beauty. It was a Bronze Age struggle for power. And now, the big question. Was the Trojan horse real? Probably not as a literal wooden horse on wheels. More likely, it was a battering ram shaped like an animal. Or a siege tower. It could have even been a poetic metaphor. Or, according to some scholars, a mistranslation of a word for ship. But what's certain is that Troy 7 was destroyed brutally and suddenly, and its conquerors left no written explanation. Whether or not Achilles or Hector existed, the war itself almost certainly did. The archaeology, the Hittite records, the burn layers, they all point to a real conflict that inspired a legend lasting 3 millennia. And that's where myth meets history. A real city, a real war, and a story so powerful it survived thousands of years. So, the next time you hear someone say Troy was just a myth, remember what archaeologists found buried under a lonely hill in Turkey. Thanks for watching. If you like videos about history, please consider liking this video and subscribing to Time Echoes. Here are some suggested videos you might also like.